Imagine this scenario. An outside man is assigned a temporary sheriff job in a small town. When he accidentally finds out that the entire town is involved in shady business with the Japanese Mafia, he has to survive against hundreds of angry locals and Japanese mobsters that want him dead. The story begins in Osaka, Japan. 3 Yakuza members are brought to their knees before their boss. He was going to kill them for their misconduct, but decides to give them a second chance. Following an ancient tradition, 3 knives are placed before the Yakuza members. They are expected to cut off one of their fingers. 2 of the men reluctantly comply and survive, but the third cannot force himself to do it. For his cowardice, the boss chops off his head with a sword right in front of his men. He sends the 2 remaining men to a town called Normal, in rural Minnesota. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, Ulysses, a local sheriff, and his new partner, Deputy Mike Nelson, drive to Normal, where Ulysses has been assigned as a temporary sheriff. Driving to work, Ulysses notices that people in this town are unusually happy, especially considering that most of the town is abandoned and there are no jobs or opportunities here. It strikes him as odd. His suspicions intensify when he notices a sign that says, "People of Normal raise $16.8 million for their new town hall." Ulysses and Mike arrive at the sheriff's office and walk inside. Ulysses settles in and gets acquainted with Deputy Blaine Anderson, another colleague he will be working with, who has an aspiration to be elected the new sheriff once Ulysses leaves. Following his suspicions, Ulysses looks into the death of the previous sheriff of Normal, Anthony Gunderson, who died from hypothermia under mysterious circumstances. He goes into the armory, where he finds out that Sheriff Gunderson had an unusually large amount of firearms and explosives stashed there. A very strange inventory for a sheriff's station in a quiet town in Minnesota. Despite his doubts, Ulysses starts performing his duties as the sheriff. He writes a ticket to a local woman named Moira. Trying to make friends in the new town, Ulysses lets her off with a warning this time. One morning, Ulysses wakes in a motel room, shaken by a nightmare. He is alarmed by loud animal noises outside, and goes to check them out. Taking out his gun, Ulysses approaches the sounds and finds, to his surprise, that it is a moose with a paint bucket on his head. As days go by, Ulysses spends his time dealing with routine calls, mostly small conflicts between the residents of Normal, who each seems to be living in their own world. Mike suspiciously encourages the 2 local men to act more restrained in front of their out-of-town guest. Ulysses drives to former Sheriff Gunderson's luxurious house for his wake. He walks to Gunderson's room to have a drink and finds a picture of a young woman in a military uniform who appears to be Gunderson's daughter. He also finds a picture of Gunderson and some man on a golf course in Japan. The man in the photo walks out behind the sheriff. His name is Dr. Walter Villi, and he was a good friend of Gunderson. He was also the doctor who signed Gunderson's death certificate. When Ulysses asks him about it, Villi reveals that Gunderson was found in the woods, frozen to death, wearing nothing but his underwear, with his fishing rod beside him. No other clues were found. Ulysses meets Kibner, the town's mayor. He tries to persuade Ulysses to stay in Normal permanently. Later, Ulysses notices the young woman from the picture arguing with Blaine in the parking lot. It looks like he's not allowing her to visit her own father's wake. After work, Ulysses has dinner in a local restaurant where Moira works as a bartender. The 2 get to know each other better and become friends. The next day, Ulysses meets an out-of-town woman near his motel, struggling with a vending machine. Her name is Lori. Ulysses helps her out and looks at her dog. He doesn't notice that she's carrying a gun. Lori and her boyfriend Keith aren't just passing by, they're planning a bank robbery. At night, Ulysses drives in his police vehicle, patrolling the road leading out of the city. He notices a van sitting on a side road and approaches the driver. It turns out to be Gunderson's daughter, Alex. It's obvious that she's been drinking and driving. To her surprise, Ulysses doesn't arrest her, but goes inside the van and starts a conversation with her. Alex reveals that after she was kicked out of the military, she developed a drinking problem. Mayor Kibner told Blaine to keep her out of her father's wake, fearing she would make a scene. Since she has nowhere else to go, Ulysses lets her stay in a jail cell for the night. In the morning, Ulysses and Mike have a routine meeting at the station, when suddenly an alarm goes off. It's a bank robbery in progress. In the bank, Lori and Keith threaten people with their guns and tell everyone to get on the ground. They disarm the bank's security guards and order cashiers to fill the bags with money. It becomes apparent that the 2 Yakuza mobsters from earlier are working as security guards in this bank. When cashiers finish the extraction, robbers are enraged to find out that there were only $2,000 in the cash registers, as all customers use credit cards now. Keith tells the manager to get them inside the vault. Lori opposes the idea. Suddenly, one of the hostages has a heart attack. He begs the robbers to help him with his pills. Keith and Lori try to help, but the medication doesn't seem to work, so they start doing chest compressions. One of the Yakuza guards uses the distraction to covertly call his bosses in Japan. When they find a beeping pager with the name tag, Normal Minnesota, they realize that the bank has been compromised. The two Japanese men in the bank decide they can't wait anymore. One of them takes out a knife and stabs Keith in the back. Hearing his scream, Lori turns back and starts shooting. She guns down both security guards. Keith is alive. Apparently, one of Lori's bullets hit him in the neck, but it's not serious, unlike his knife wound, which puts his life in grave danger. Meanwhile, Ulysses and his deputies arrive at the bank. Ulysses sees the dog in the car and realizes that Lori is the robber. Mike and Blaine start putting on body armor, planning to storm the bank. Ulysses shocks them when he says he wants to go in. They try to talk him out of it, but Ulysses is adamant. While he approaches the bank, Blaine receives a mysterious phone call. Someone on the phone orders him to kill Ulysses. Coming closer to the bank, Ulysses sees Lori sitting near the wounded Keith. Despite their reservations, Blaine and Mike reluctantly get into position and open fire. Luckily for Ulysses, the automatic fire lands on his bulletproof vest, so he wasn't injured. At first, Ulysses thinks they just panicked, so he yells for them to stop shooting, only to realize that they were deliberately shooting at him. He starts shooting back and hits Blaine in the head, shooting off his ear. Mike panics and starts shooting indiscriminately, killing several hostages inside the bank. While Mike continues shooting frantically in the most reckless manner, Ulysses helps Lori, Keith, and the hostages to take cover from the deranged lunatic. When the fire stops, some hostages flee, leaving Ulysses and the robbers inside. Lori is confused about why the deputies were shooting at Ulysses. The betrayed sheriff deduces that they were guarding some sort of secret he wasn't supposed to find out. Enraged by the betrayal, Ulysses points a gun at the bank manager and forces him to tell the truth. The bank manager opens the vault, revealing millions of dollars in cash and gold bars that belong to the Yakuza. While Ulysses and the robbers look at it in confusion, the manager tries to flee. Ulysses starts chasing him. The manager grabs a revolver from a drawer, but accidentally shoots himself in the panic. Meanwhile, Mike tries to enter the bank through a back door. Hearing the squeaking of his comically loud leather jacket, Ulysses opens fire at him through the door. Lori stays in the vault with the wounded Keith. They're quite confused about the weird situation. Ulysses explains that he's just as clueless about it as they are, and suggests they team up to leave this place together alive. They look into the crates that were in the vault and find a large shipment of weapons. Assault rifles, grenade launchers, etc. When somebody calls the bank, Ulysses picks up the phone. It's Mayor Kibner and the townspeople who are loyal to him. The mayor explains that they are guarding the property of a Yakuza crime family in the bank. This deal that they arranged with the Japanese has enriched the entire town, so naturally the entire population of Normal will do anything to keep it a secret from an outside world. He offers Ulysses a chance to join them as the permanent town sheriff if he kills the robbers, to demonstrate his loyalty. Ulysses refuses the offer and hangs up the phone. He goes back to the vault and loads the grenade launcher. Kibner tells his men to get ready to storm the bank. Just as they are about to go in, a moose suddenly arrives out of nowhere. Due to the heavy blizzard, power goes down in the entire town. Using this opportunity, Ulysses shoots a grenade at them, exploding Kibner to pieces. While deputies stand still in shock, the armed trio comes out of the bank. Ulysses keeps shooting grenades at them, killing most of them in the explosions that follow and destroying their vehicles, while Lori and Keith support him with automatic fire. He then switches to an automatic rifle and guns down more of them. The three run away on foot through the city streets. Mike and Blaine surprisingly survive the chaotic shootout. They are soon joined by Joe, one of the Japanese security guards who survived the earlier shootout with Lori. He reveals that he contacted Japan earlier, but now all communications are down due to the blizzard. Unable to contact Normal, the Oyabun, the head of their Yakuza family, will be coming personally to take care of the situation along with his men. Joe orders the corrupt deputies and their supporters to pursue Ulysses and the robbers. The trio quietly walks through the streets of Normal until one of the conspirators finds them and engages them in a firefight. While Lori takes Keith inside one of the shops, Ulysses continues shooting and guns down the attacker. The three end up in a knitting shop owned by a sweet old lady. What they didn't know at the time is that she was part of the conspiracy as well. She takes out a double-barreled shotgun and tries to kill them. While Lori distracts her with automatic fire, Ulysses pushes a drawer at her, throwing the shotgun out of her hands. Lori grabs the old woman and throws her at the wall, but even that doesn't stop her. The old woman finds a hidden revolver and takes a shot at Lori just before she stabs her in the neck with a knitting needle. Meanwhile, the remaining conspirators gather in a local restaurant, where they have restored power with a generator. They heal their wounds and gather weapons and ammo. Joe explains that they must kill Ulysses and the robbers at all costs, because if the power is restored, they would contact the outside world and reveal the truth. When that happens, the Oyabun and his men will undoubtedly kill all of them. Ulysses, Lori, and Keith decide to go to the police station and escape in a snowplow tractor. Suddenly, one of the conspirators opens fire at them. He hits Ulysses, but his bulletproof vest saves him again. Ulysses tells the other two to leave him and move to the police station. They depart while exchanging fire with the attacker. Meanwhile, Ulysses is dragged by Maynard, a local store owner. He tries to kill Ulysses but fails. A brutal fight ensues, during which Maynard puts Ulysses on the ground and gets ready to kill him with an axe. At the last possible moment, Ulysses grabs bug spray and shoots it in Maynard's eyes, blinding him temporarily. Ulysses chases him and smashes his head with a shovel. Looking through the store, Ulysses finds dynamite sticks in one of the closets. Exchanging fire with a pursuing attacker, Lori and Keith use all their ammo. While he reloads, Keith takes out a gold bar he stole earlier and starts beating him with it. Lori and Keith beat up the conspirator while he maniacally shoots around with the revolver. The two kick the gun out of his hands, but even without his gun, he manages to put them both on the ground. He takes out his knife and approaches Lori. Ironically, a street sign that was damaged by gunfire earlier falls on the attacker's head, rendering him unconscious. Before Lori and Keith can catch their breath, they are surrounded by a large crowd of conspirators that immediately start shooting at them. The two robbers flee through an alley. Suddenly, a burning object falls by their feet. They cheerfully pick it up, thinking it's just a flare, only to realize in horror that it's the dynamite sticks that Ulysses is throwing at them. The explosions that follow cost the lives of many more conspirators, including Mike, who comically tries to extinguish a flame on one of the sticks, only for it to blow up in his face. Meanwhile, Yakuza mobsters fly to the United States in their private jet. In normal, Lori and Keith get to the police station and try to start the engine in a snowplow tractor. They're unaware that Mary Beth, a police station receptionist, is quietly approaching them with a gun. Just when she was ready to shoot Lori and Keith, Ulysses arrives and grabs the gun. While struggling, they damage the hydraulics of the car lift nearby. Mary Beth accidentally falls under the police car on the car lift. The car falls down on her, smashing her instantly. Ulysses reunites with Lori and Keith. To their surprise, he announces that he won't be joining them and tells them to leave the city by themselves. Lori and Keith first drive to the bank to pick up their dog, which they left in a car before the bank robbery. When they drive away, the conspirators notice the tractor and move toward the police station. Ulysses waits for them there, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. When he walks to the exit, he is suddenly shot multiple times by Moira. Threatening Ulysses with a shotgun, she forces him to toss her his pistol. Moira confesses that she was the one who killed Sheriff Gunderson because he wanted out of the deal they made with the Yakuza. She drugged him and drove him to the woods, where he froze to death on the ground. As she was ready to kill Ulysses, Moira is suddenly attacked by Alex, who grabs her shotgun and shoots her with a pistol, avenging her father's death. Sometime later, Blaine, Joe, and the remaining conspirators approach the police station. A garage door opens, revealing an armored truck driven by Alex. While they open fire at her, she accelerates, killing one of them in the process. Alex leaves while they helplessly shoot at the truck, unable to penetrate the armor. Joe realizes to his horror that they foolishly left the bank vault open. Alex arrives at the bank, crashes through the main entrance, and proceeds inside the vault. Ulysses contacts Blaine on the radio, informing the conspirators that Alex is planting explosives in the vault as they speak. Ulysses says that if they kill him, Alex will blow up the vault, destroying the Yakuza's money and condemning the conspirators to death once the Oyabun arrives. Ulysses arranges a meeting with Joe and the conspirators at the restaurant. He makes a proposal to them. Make it look like a severe snowstorm caused a car to crash into the bank, which triggered the alarm. This way, they can convince the Yakuza that everything is okay and avoid punishment. Joe reluctantly agrees. In the morning, townspeople clean up the streets under Ulysses' supervision. The Oyabun and his men arrive at a local airport and drive towards normal. Ulysses and Blaine wait for them at the entrance. When they arrive, Blaine explains to the Oyabun through a translator that they had a bad storm that caused a car accident at the bank, triggering the alarm. The Oyabun insists they must go to the bank immediately, so the two escort them in a convoy. When they arrive at the bank, Joe pretends that the other Japanese guard was killed in a car accident along with a bank manager. The Oyabun rushes to the vault, where he verifies that everything is in order, so he accepts their explanation. Later at night, the people of Normal and the Yakuza mobsters have a celebratory dinner at the restaurant. They have a good time, putting the unpleasantness behind them. But then, the unthinkable happens. When waiter opens a champagne bottle, the cork ricochets onto the wall, throwing a decorative yet loaded shotgun to the floor. It goes off, shooting off the Oyabun's head. Enraged by what appears to be an assassination, the Japanese mobsters open fire at the Americans. A fierce firefight ensues. Most of the Yakuza men and people of Normal get killed in a chaotic shootout. Joe helps his Yakuza family, which leads to him fighting Ulysses in a kitchen. Ulysses eventually gets him on the ground, but he gets up and tries to stab Ulysses, only to lose the knife and get stabbed in the neck. The only two people who survived the violent shootout in the restaurant were Alex and Blaine. Ulysses soon joins them. Surrounded by dozens of bodies, the three comically eat the restaurant food and reminisce about their wild adventure. A month later, Ulysses and Alex live in rural Texas, where they are working together as a sheriff and a deputy in a small community. The town of Normal went back to normal, with Blaine being elected as the new sheriff. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.